What up? What up? CJ Oracle here. Sounds so weird saying that name without rolling my R, like Oracle. It just Oracle. It just doesn't have the same ring to it. Anyways, so the footage you're looking at here is a video I took yesterday morning. I was trying to capture the sunrise, but I was standing out there for 20 minutes and the sun didn't rise yet because it was behind that hill that you see there. So I gave up. Yeah, sorry. So that's the best I could do right now. Yeah, one day I'll have to like climb up to the top of that hill that you see there, and I'll get a really good sunrise video for you. Problem is that there's a coyote den up there. Yeah, I don't want to get torn to bits by coyotes. That's not part of my plan. I don't want to. I really don't want to find the coyote den. Yeah, so every night the coyotes 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 the coyotes will come down off the mountain, off that hill, and just roam the neighborhoods around it. And yeah, yeah, it's pretty fun when I'm walking my dog outside in the mornings, like to stumble across coyotes. Yeah, lots of fun. Yeah, it's a little nerve wracking. Luckily, my dog's like 100-pound dog, so I don't think they'll attack it. But I don't know how people that have like little chihuahuas and little dogs like that do it when they're out walking their dog. That would be a little scary. Yeah, it's because those coyotes like to eat those small dogs. They'll try to lure them out of the backyards even so they can eat them. So I thought this would be interesting a topic to talk about since it's something I'm going through right now. I was just trying to decide between self-publishing or traditional publishing. Which path do I want to take? Do I want to self-publish or do I want to try to find a traditional publisher that could help me get this book out to market and stuff like that? So do any of you guys write out there, like write books and stuff? Like I know there's more than a few that do, but yeah, if anybody's listening to this, and I'd love to pick your brain about this and hear your thoughts. Like, how did you decide between whether you wanted to self-publish your books or if you wanted to try to find a traditional publisher? Like my thought process on deciding between the two was that I was just looking at the cost of self-publishing. Like self-publishing one book can cost you thousands of dollars. Between finding a freelance editor to edit your book. I mean that alone could cost you, I don't know. Depends how long your book is, but it could cost you like $1,500 at least. And then trying to find a cover artist that can do your book cover for you. That could cost you $1,000 easy. But with AI and stuff, it's a lot easier to make your own book cover these days. But I don't know if I would trust that. I wouldn't go down that road. I would prefer to find a really talented book artist to do the cover, to illustrate the cover. And yeah, for me that kind of really steered me towards the traditional publishing route. That's kind of where I want to go. This because that's where I think I'd feel more comfortable, because you go that route, if you get accepted by a publisher, then you have an editor there, a professional editor that's been doing this a lot of years probably, and help you improve your book even more. Yeah, you don't need to pay for that, obviously. And then you get a nice book cover, and a traditional publisher will get your book out to all the um, all the retailers, to libraries. They'll help you do all that. They'll do all that work on the back end for you. Whereas if you go do self-publishing, you can't get your book into stores. I doubt you can get it into libraries unless it's really popular or something like that. I'm not sure how that works for self-publishers. There might be self-published books in libraries. I don't know. That's something that'd be interesting to research. I'll maybe make a future video on that. Yeah. So on top of all that, it'd be really nice just to have a solid foundation to stand on, that which traditional publisher signifies to me. Perhaps I'm just being really naive about the whole thing, but it just seems like, once I find a publisher to publish this book, then, they just really give me something to stand on, a bit of a more firm foundation, to help me, like, in case things get rocky or whatever, you could have, a publisher behind you that could help you along. Yeah, so I really don't have the fortitude or the cojones, for self-publishing. Like I think when you're trying to make the choice between the two, I think you really have to be honest with yourself and try to figure out what kind of person you are, like what you're good at, what you're not good at. Like for instance, I'm not a good business person. I'm terrible at business. I tried. I got a marketing degree in college, and I worked in the corporate world for a little bit, and that did not work. That was not good. Yeah, so I really learned my lesson the hard way. It's like I should have listened all those years ago and just started writing. So, anyways, yeah, to get back on track here, yeah, so I'm like, talking about all this, I know like to people that have, to other authors and stuff like that that have, gotten their works published by publishers and stuff like that. I know I probably sound really naive, so I'd love to hear from you. Yeah, if anyone out there is listening to this and can offer advice, I'd love to hear it. But I imagine that, if you find a publisher to publish your work, that, they'll help you with, marketing and some publicity, except, I've heard that, some of these publishers have really cut back on their marketing publicity. And they're leaving a lot of that up to the authors to do themselves. And this is what I was also thinking is that, it'd be nice to find a publisher too, because there is such a huge self-publishing industry. There are so many self-published books. You got to do something to stand out. You really have to find a way to stand out from the crowd, make to differentiate yourself and make yourself look different and look fresh, look like you have something new and exciting. And I think getting your book published by a publisher, that would just add a little bit more je ne sais quoi, should we say? It would just be kind of like having a brand behind you. You have this brand that you're a part of. An established brand. Yeah, a brand that it'll hold your book up and it'll separate it from the crowd and it'll attract more attention. I think that way. This is just my thinking. This is the way I'm viewing it. I could be totally wrong. If I'm wrong, just let me know, please. Yeah, I'm just kind of working through this in real time with you guys. I'm just going through a lot of my thought process leading up to this. While I was working on my book, kind of think about this. Think about, okay, once I'm done with this book, because eventually one of these days I'm going to get done with this book, and I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do with it. Am I going to self-publish this, or am I going to try to get this published through an established publisher? So yeah, that's just a lot of what I was thinking. And like I've said before, yeah, please let me know what you guys think. I'm really interested. I'd love to interact with other authors. It's been a lot of fun getting on social media and seeing you know what you guys are all up to and how you establish your brand, promote yourself. It's been really fascinating. I've been really impressed with you guys and the high quality advertising you're able to do. Yeah, you guys are awesome. I'd love to get to know some of you guys and stuff and pick your brains on some of these topics. Yeah, social media can be fun in that way. Because I spent so many years just kind of isolated and not on social media because I just didn't have the strength to do it. I couldn't do social media and write this novel at the same time, or this series of novels. It was literally impossible for me. So, yeah, it's been really cool jumping on social media and connecting with so many people. And oh, before I go, just one last thing I wanted to bring up. One downside to going the traditional publishing route is that you're gonna have to write a query letter, with that involves like an overview of the book, just a quick overview, like a 200-word overview of the book with a really good hook in that overview. And a lot of times you also have to include a synopsis, which is you're going through your book in more detail and sharing, or, sharing, particular key points of the book. It's not an outline, but you're just kind of giving them like a more in-depth overview of the book and stuff like that. That could be a real big pain in the butt to do, like really. So yeah, so that's a for me that's a big downside, trying to get your book published by a publisher. All right, well, I think I'm gonna end the video here. That's all I have to really talk about on this subject. Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all this. What do you guys think? If you had the choice, which route would you go? All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.